Good morning. Let's now see some Java programs in order to write the map reduce jobs, which comes under lecture 2 under module 4, under module 5. Is the presentation visible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So in the last class, we have seen what is map reduce, and we understood it very well in depth by using a word count example. Right. This is a famous example which helps us to understand this map reduce framework at a smaller scale by taking simple text and trying to count the number of word occurrences in that text. Okay, and we have also taken the example of weather data set from National Climatic Data Center, and how it takes too much time by using Unix tools to analyze the data in NCDC, and how the task is made quicker and more reliable by using MapReduce for the analysis of that data. That we have covered in the last class, but we understood at an abstract level how we can execute this map reduce job, but how to code this, how to add the map function, how to add the reduce function, how to pack them into a job and hand it over to the HDFS cluster so that it can be passed on to various data nodes to execute that map reduce task. That we are going to see today. In today's class, we are going to write some Java map reduce programs. So we are trying to write map and reduce functions to analyze the NCDC weather dataset. So we will stick to the same dataset, that is NCDC weather dataset, and write a map and reduce program to find out the maximum temperature in every year for over 100 years. And we are going to, one second. Yeah, we're going to find out the maximum temperature recorded in each year across the weather stations, right? Now, having run through how the MapReduce program works, our next step is to express it in the form of code. For this, we'll take help of Java programming language, right? Now, what are the three things we need to do initially to start with? We need to write a map function, we need to write a reduce function, and another class to run the job, some more extra code to run the job, right? We can't separately write the map function and reduce function and hand it over to a map reduce framework. We have to pack them into a job, and that job has to be converted into a Java archive file, and that Java archive file have to be distributed across the data nodes on HDFS cluster, right? This is a long process, but if you focus, it is very easy to understand. This program, if you don't understand, you can't remember and write it, right? You have to understand it line by line so that automatically it will come for you to write it in the exam. It will strike for you to write it in the exam very easily. Okay, now we have seen that this is the raw data or input splits that we are trying to give as input to the map phase. Right, so the data we get from NCDC is the raw data, semi-structured data or record-oriented data. All the data, series of numbers are captured in very crude form. Means you can't even demarcate what is the measurement, which measurement is for what meteorological element. Right, so you need to find out, you need to fetch from this raw data in which year what meteorological element is measured. And for simplicity's sake, here we are considering only one element, that is a temperature that is captured in a particular year across weather stations. Right, now when this raw data is given to us, when this crude data is given to us, we need to divide, we need to format it into key value pairs. You already understood in the last class that map and reduce functions take as input key value pairs and also give key value pairs as output, right? So you need to give this raw data in the form of key value pairs to the map function. So the key value pair that you pass to the map function is this. The first part indicates the offset where this file starts in the main data set. Okay, the offset of the file and the file you're going to analyze, from which you're going to fetch the data that is relevant for your analysis process to answer the question at hand. That is, what is the maximum temperature recorded every year across weather stations over 100 years? Now, in this case, it is the offset is 106 with its corresponding raw data, 212 with its data, 318 and 424. Okay, now we are able to get the data into the form of key value pairs, which can be passed as input to the map function, right? Now let us write mapper class, reducer class, and a class to pack these two classes into a job. So here today we are going to see three different classes that we are going to write in Java. Okay, so what are the three classes? One is the mapper class, which defines the map function. One is the reducer class, which defines the reduce function, and another class in order to pack these two classes into a job, convert it into a jar file and distribute it onto HDFS cluster onto various data nodes, right? So let us see line by line how we write this map function. Map functions can be customized. Remember, map is a function which is declared in the mapper superclass. Now, if we are able to extend this mapper superclass, we can customize according to our requirements. We can redefine this map function that is declared in the mapper superclass. Okay, now let us go from beginning. Import Java IO dot IO exception. If at all the job is interrupted in the middle because of data node failure or corrupted data, or if whenever you're trying to read the data from the input file or write data to output file, whenever some exception arises, that should be gracefully handled by the system. For that, we are importing this IO exception file, right? IO exception class. Java packages IO subpackage contains this IO exception, right? Now, what is the next line? Import org.apache.hadoop IO int writable. What are these extra classes, wrapper classes? You know that in Java, everything is treated as a class. Even the data types are treated as classes. You have wrapper classes like integer. See the bottom of this slide, I'm writing here, integer, double, string. These are all the wrapper classes in Java, which will help you to type convert the input given by the user, right? Now, the same classes can't be used as it is with Hadoop. So Hadoop has its own native classes in order to work with different data types. For Hadoop, we take instead of integer, we take it as int writable, and instead of long int, we take it as long writable. Okay, these two belong to the IO subpackage, which belongs to org.apache.hadoop. Understand this carefully. So int writable, long writable, text, these are all the data types of Hadoop, which are analogous to Java's integer, long integer, and string data types. Okay, so for integer we use in Hadoop int writable. For long int in Java we use long writable for Hadoop in Hadoop, and for string in Java we write text in Hadoop. Okay, so for these three data types, these three classes have to be imported in order to use them in our Java class. Okay, so that we create a compatible situation where the data can be transferred between your system and the Hadoop cluster. So you're using here int writable, long writable, and text, which are imported from org.apache.hadoop's package IO. Now we also have to import the superclass mapper. This mapper contains a map function which can be overridden or which can be redefined in this customized classes. Okay, so what is the class we imported here? org.apache.hadoop, and from Hadoop we are getting the package MapReduce. From this MapReduce we are importing a superclass called as mapper. This is the superclass. Now any class we want to customize based on our application's requirement, that has to extend this superclass mapper, right? So we are now writing the original class which helps us to define a map function. So what is the name of this class? We have given it as max temperature mapper. In order to resemble the task at hand, we give it an appealing name, max temperature mapper. We are trying to find out the max temperature, maximum temperature. And for this task, we are going to write a mapper class. Okay, that is the name, max temperature mapper, and this extends the mapper superclass. Okay, only when we are able to extend this mapper superclass, we will be able to redefine this map function. We will be able to override this map function. Okay, now see the general template of this mapper class. What does this expect? It expects a key value pair and it emits a key value pair. Now what is the key value pair it is expecting? Here we have the key value pair in this form. See this part of the slide? We have a key value pair in this form. The key represents sorry, this is the output. I'm really sorry. The key value pair is the offset. Offset 0 with some series of numbers. And again 54 with some series of numbers, right? This is the key value pair that it expects as input. Okay, so this is the offset key, and this is the raw record associated with this key. Again, this is the key for the next record and its associated raw data. Okay, this is the key value pair. Now, why we have taken it as long writable? This key, that is the offset, we are going to use as key. It may have larger values. Remember, we are going to deal with 100 years data. When this 100 years data is put into a file or into multiple files, we may come across some large offsets. We may have to come across some offsets which have very large number. That is why we are using long writable for the key. Okay, and we are taking for value the text data type. Why we are using this text? This record that is captured is in the form of string. Okay, and you know that in Hadoop we use text for string in Java. That is why we are taking for the value text. And what type of data it emits? What is the output of the map phase? Again, a key value pair. Now, what is the key here? Once the processing is done, see here. Now, this is the key value pair that it emits. Now, the key is the text. That is the year. Are you going to analyze anything with respect to year? No, it is simply treated as a string. You are not going to find the maximum of a year, or you are not going to perform any computation on the year. That is why it is treated as a string, simple string. And for string in Hadoop, we use text. So for this key value pair, you take for 1950 or 1949 to represent the year, we take a string. For string in Hadoop, we are using text, right? And for the values are the 8 temperatures that are recorded. And they might not be too high temperatures. It may not cross it may not cross the boundary of normal integer values. That is why we take a normal integer data type. And for normal integer data type in Hadoop, we use int writable. Okay, so this is the key value pair that is taken as input by map function, and this is the key value pair that is taken that is given as output by map function. Right? It is as easy as that if you understand. Now, After beginning this class, you have to create a constant value for missing. To create a constant value, you use the keyword final. You remember, right? In Java, if you want to create a constant value, you use final keyword. Now, private static, before the execution starts, before this class is instantiated, before this class is invoked by an object, you have to perform any assignment of default values, constant values. That is why you have taken it as static, right? So you have taken private static final. You are assigning some integer value constantly to a variable called missing. I can't call it as variable because I'm permanently giving it some value. Means I'm constantly giving it some value. So I take it as a identifier. Okay, this missing can be called as a constant identifier rather than a variable. Okay, now we take this missing identifier and assign it the value 9999. Let us see how we use it further. Whenever there is a missing value, whenever that meteorological element is not properly captured, you may come across this kind of values which can be treated as missing values. Okay, so for missing identifier, you just assign constantly some value 9999. Okay, now you give a annotation here so that we are stating that map function is being overridden. Map function is being overridden. What do you mean by overridden? This is already defined in the mapper class, mapper superclass, and that definition you are trying to override. That definition you are trying to customize according to your application, right? That is why we are just giving an annotation which will not be considered by the compiler but serves as very useful information to the person who reads this code. Okay, so you're going to override the map function. And how do you do that? You take the prototype public void map. It expects long writable key. The key value here is the offset of the file, and text value, that is the record that is captured with lots of numbers. And understand this, this is very important. The context object is also passed as parameter. What does this context do? This context is like a mediator which will communicate between the map phase and the reducer phase. So it takes the data from the map context and transfers it to the reduce context. You understood? Context is like a box into which you can pack the data from the map phase and pass it on to the reducer phase. So the context object carries some information in the context of map to the reduce phase. Okay, so that compatibility between the phases is maintained. So context acts as a messenger between map phase and reduce phase to carry the information that has to be passed between those two phases, right? So you have to pass long writable key, text, value, and context object to the map function, and make sure that you handle the exceptions that are arised. So you throw it automatically. Throws, what kind of exceptions it may throw? IO exception when some input output is happening, or interrupted exception. Interrupted exception means if this job, if this map task is interrupted, as I said, due to node failures or due to corrupted data. In such cases, it may throw interrupted exception. The job will be interrupted. The map task will be interrupted. In order to handle that, interrupted exception has to be caught. Okay. Now come to the original description of this function. Understand this carefully. We are now creating a variable of type string. Now we are going to take only the data types of Java because we have come into a Java function where we can customize according to our requirements. Okay, so we have taken a string variable line, and what does this value receive now? The value converted to string. What is the value that is passed to this map function? See here, I am highlighting. What is the value that is passed to this map function? The raw record, the entire series of numbers along with the year and air temperature and many other measurements which are not demarcated properly. It is raw type of data. Now that value, that record is converted to a string. That raw data is converted to a string by using toString method. Right? Now that string is stored in the line variable. Got it? Now, in this string, are you interested in the entire information? No. You have to pick out the year in which the measurement is taken, and you have to fetch the air temperature that is captured in that particular year. And do they span the entire record? No. They occur at particular places. They occur at particular index numbers. Say you have 999 and 1950. Again, 6999 plus 00111. This is how your record appears, right? And the year appears at the index number 3, and the temperature appears at approximately index number 10. Okay, so you want only those substrings from the main string. For that, you have to use the substring method. See the next line. For the year, to fetch the year, you have to fetch only small part of this main string. So from this line now contains the entire raw record converted into a string. Now from this line, from this string, fetch the substring. From where to where you have to fetch this substring? From the 15th location to the 18th location. One location before the endpoint given here. Okay, so 15, 16, 17, 18. Year is in 4 digits, right? So 15, 16, 17, 18. That year is picked as a substring from the main string line, and it is stored in the variable year. It is stored in the variable year as a string again. Okay. Now you also have to pick the air temperature. But can you pick the air temperature as it is? No. If you have to check whether that value is missing, or you have to check the quality code also, whether it is properly captured or not. So just declare the air temperature as integer type. See this part. Declare the air temperature as integer type because you're going to analyze it as an integer. You're going to evaluate air temperature as an integer. That is why create air temperature variable as integer type. And now you have to make some checking here. You have to perform some checking here in order to get the appropriate air temperature. What are those lines that perform checking? See this. If this line dot character at 87, domain experts will help us to locate the year and air temperature in this raw data. So we very well know where the year starts or where the temperature starts. Okay, so you can write a Java program accordingly in order to perform this map task. Now what it is doing, if this line of main string, in this line, if the character at 87th index number is equal to plus, in that case, you have to take that substring from 88th location. See this carefully. If it is a positive temperature that is recorded, you can just note it as a normal temperature. If it is a negative temperature that is recorded, take the air temperature along with the sign because it indicates very low temperatures, right? Maybe there is a snowfall in that particular area. The temperature have dropped down below 0 degrees. So minus degrees is very important. If it is 11 degrees, it indicates above 0 degrees, right? If it or say 22 degrees, it indicates some hot temperature. Minus 22, very low temperature. So this sign plays a very important role in order to find out the maximum temperature in that particular area. So you find the trailing plus, means in this main string, if the character at 87 is encountered as a plus symbol, then record it as a normal temperature. Means do not take the plus sign but record the temperature, which by default indicates a positive value. Okay, so if the character at 87th location is a plus, then capture the value from 88th location till 91st location. 88, 89, 90, 91. So 4 digits you are reserving for the temperature. And if it is a positive temperature, neglect the positive value and just record the temperature. Else, if it is a negative value, if the character at 87th index number is a negative value, what you have to do? You have to take the symbol also. For that, see, the substring is being fetched not from 88 but from 87 itself in order to record the minus sign also till 91st location. And what you're doing while recording, while taking this entire raw data is taken as a string. From that you are picking a numerical value. So you have to convert that into a numerical value. You have to convert that into integer by using integer.parseInt. You know that strings can be converted into integers by using the wrapper class integer and using the method parseInt. Now we are using this integer.parseInt in order to convert a string value of a temperature that is captured into an integer value, into a numerical value, and that you are assigning to a temperature. Now, what do you have in a temperature? Integer values that are captured in that particular year. Fine. Now you have year with you, you have a temperature also. But at the same time, you have to check the quality code also to know whether the data is correctly captured or not. For that, you take the quality string. You take a variable called as quality of string type and check in that string if the value, if the character at 92nd location is equal to some pattern. First take that value into quality string variable and let us see how you do the comparison. You are taking from this line string a substring with the index number 92. That is the quality code. See, you have the temperature like this. See this part of the slide. You have the temperature like this, 0, 0, 1, 1 and 1, or plus 0, 0, 78 and 1. This part indicates the quality code. So you want the number at that index number, and that index number is 92. From that index number, fetch the quality code into the quality variable. Right. Now, how to check the quality variable? If a temperature is not equal to missing, means it doesn't have any values with 9999, which indicates missing. You don't have such high temperatures on the globe, right? So 9999 can be assigned to missing identifier, so that you can tally it with the quality, you can tally it with the a temperature that is captured. Now, if a temperature is not equal to missing and the quality code, see this, the quality code, quality dot matches any of this pattern. Either it is 0. In some weather stations, the quality code can be recorded as 4. In some stations, the quality code can be recorded as 1. There are some predetermined values which indicates the quality code at that particular weather station, right? So the allowed quality codes may be 0, 1, 4, 5 and 9. Now, if the quality code matches with any of these numbers, we have given a pattern here. 01459. Now, if the quality code matches with any of the numbers in this pattern and the A temperature value is not equal to missing value, then your A temperature is the genuine value. Then A temperature is the correct value that is recorded. Yes. Now, A temperature is properly available to you. Now, what you have to do? All the checkings are completed. Year is captured, A temperature is captured, and it is checked for its quality. Now, use the context object. What you understood about context object? Context is like a box which will pack the data for you, which will pack the key value pair for you of the map function and transfers it to the reduce function. Okay, now pack, your data is ready. Your data in the form of key value pair is ready. Pack it into the context object. How do you pack that? By using the write method. Context.write. What data you're going to write now? The year value, which is in the form of text, which is the data type text. See, this is the data you're packing, right? When you're packing this data, the key is in the form of text. So you create a new instance of text and pass the year to it. So this year is now treated as a string variable and packed into context. Key is packed. Now your next task is to pack the value also. Now what is the value here? The A temperature that you are packing. And what type it is? Int writable. It is of integer type, and in Hadoop understands it as int writable rather than int. So you're creating a new instance of int writable for this A temperature and packing it into context. Understood clearly? You're using the context object to write these two key and values into the context object. You're using write method in order to create instances of this year and A temperature, pack them together into the context object. Now this context object, this package is ready to transfer this map's output to the reduce phases input as the reduce phases input. It is very clear now, right? Students, now I want you to ask me if you have any doubts before going to the reduce class. Is it clear? Vaishnavi? Sneha?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us go to the reducer class. Because you understood very well about the data types, about the overriding of the map function, it is easy now to understand about a reducer class. It is almost the same. Okay. Now see the first line here. Map function has been completed. Now you have to define the reduce function in order to consolidate the result and give it as a comprehensive output, short output, combined output. Okay, so you again import the java.io exception class, and you also have to import int writable and text. You know, because these values, these classes are the data types which can be understood by Hadoop. That is why we are importing this int writable and text classes also from Hadoop's IO package. And we also have to import the reducer superclass. In the previous case, what we have done? We have imported mapper superclass. In this case, we have to define a reduce function, which is already declared in the reducer superclass, right? So you are using import org.apache.hadoop. From the map reduce package, you are importing reducer superclass. Now, create the class, public class max temperature reducer. Again, this name very well explains us what is the purpose of writing this class. In the previous case, what is the class name? Max temperature mapper. In this class, case, what is the class name? Max temperature reducer. This class helps us to define the reduce function. That is why we have given the class name as max temperature reducer. And it extends which superclass? Reducer superclass. And what is the template it expects? It expects a key value pair as input. Now, what is the key value pair that is being passed? The year, which is represented in the form of a text, and the A temperature that is recorded, which is represented in the form of integer. And for Hadoop, it is int writable. Now, what is the output this reducer phase gives out? This reducer phase emits again a key value pair. Now, what is the key here? Again the year. And what is the value that it emits? The A temperature that is recorded. So it is again in the integer form, which is taken as int writable. Now it is easy to understand. Now come to the next line. Again, you are trying to override the reduce function that is already defined in the map reducer superclass. Okay, so we have given the annotation as override. Now override the reduce function that is defined in reducer superclass. How do you override this? Give the prototype public void reduce, and what parameters it expects? What parameters this function expects? It expects the year, which is taken as the key value, and it is of type string, and for Hadoop it is text. Now observe this carefully. What is it expecting as value along with the key? As input to the reducer phase, it is expecting series of A temperatures. Remember, when the key value pairs emitted by map phase are being passed to the reducer phase as input, some pre-processing happens in the middle. Some shuffling, sorting, and grouping happens in the middle, which will convert the key value pair emitted by the mapper phase in this format. Now you have the year and all the A temperatures captured in that year. In 1950, all the A temperatures captured in the form of a list of A temperatures. In 1949, 2 A temperatures are captured and they are grouped as a list. In 1950, you have 3 A temperatures captured that are grouped as a list. So you have to go through this list in an iterative manner. You have to go through this list of A temperatures in an iterative manner, one after the other, in order to pick the highest A temperature. For that, you are using iterable int writable. Iterable int writable. Why you have taken int writable? Because all these A temperatures are integers and they are list of values. And you have to go through each element of this list. That is why you are taken iterable. Okay, iterable int writable. And what is the variable of this type? You have taken it as values. Here you have taken it as key, and list of A temperatures you have taken into values. Okay, these two parameters will be passed to this reduce function. And do not forget to add as parameter the context object. Very, very important, because the reducer also have to pack its output into a context object, which can be passed further to the client as output. Okay, so in order to communicate between the map phase and the reducer phase and to the client, you have to have a communicator. You have to have a package which goes between all these phases. That package is this context, right? So you are passing another context object to this, to the reduce function. And as usual, this may throw IO exception and interrupted exception. Right. Now, come to this line. Understand this carefully. Now, you have to iteratively go through this list of A temperatures and find out the maximum A temperature. Now, how do you know which is the minimum air temperature? Because you have 2, 3 values, it is easy for you to locate what is the minimum temperature and start comparing with it. But you may have minus 11 degrees, you may have minus 25 degrees, and if the list of air temperatures is some thousands of values, how can you locate the minimum value? So try to assign the so far maximum value to the least of integer values. So what is the minimum value here that we are assigning? See this carefully. We are taking integer wrapper classes most minimum value that is possible. We are assigning this to the maximum value, and it is of the order 2 power minus 31. That is the most minimum integer value that is available with Java. Okay, so you're taking this integer dot minimum value, which equals to 2 power minus 31, and assigning it to the max value variable. Hereafter, any value that is greater than this max value will be the maximum value that is tagged as max value so far. Now, this max value is compared with any other max value. It finds a maximum value that is tagged as a maximum value. Now, this is compared with any other maximum value. Finally, after this max value is compared with every element of the list of air temperatures in a particular year, that max temperature will be captured and taken as the final maximum air temperature that is recorded in that particular year. Got it? For that, we are assigning this value, integer dot minimum value 2 power minus 31. We are assigning it to max value variable. Now, start a for each loop. Because you have list of air temperatures, you have to check with each and every value. Say when you're finding the maximum element of a list or minimum element of a array, what do you do? You compare one static value with each and every value of the array. And whenever you find the maximum value, that value will be the maximum value till then. Okay, the same thing you're doing with for each loop here. What you're doing for int-writable value, you're creating another variable value of integer type. In Hadoop, it is int-writable. For int-writable value, you have taken a value or any value you can take. Int-writable x, int-writable y, any variable you are comfortable with. For int-writable v value, take each and every value from the values list. Means from the air temperature list. 1949, the list contains 2 components. 1950, the list contains 3 air temperature components. Okay. Now, for every element of this list, take each of them at a time into the value variable and compare it with the max value so far. For that, you are using the function max of math class. Okay, so you're using math.max, compare the maximum value, so far detected maximum value, with the value you get into value variable, value.get. In value.get, each element of this list will be retrieved at a time. Now that element is compared with the maximum value so far, and from that the maximum value is fetched and assigned to the max value. So far detected max value. Okay, so by the end of this for each loop, what will happen? The maximum element in the list of air temperatures can be put into max value variable. Right, now you have the key, that is the year, you have the maximum air temperature into the max value variable. So what is your next job? Pack it into the box. What is the box? Context. How do you pack the data or output into the context? By using the write method. So use context.write, use the key to be packed, that is the year, and what is the value you're packing? The maximum air temperature that is recorded, that is stored in max value. and it is of type integer. So you have to create a new instance. Whenever you're using the variables to pack into the context object, you need to create the instances. You can't directly pack them as it is. Okay, so you're creating new int writable instance and packing the max value along with its key. Key is of what type? Text type. And remember, this key instance is already created for the context object in the map function. That is why we are not using the instance here. If at all you are following very, very carefully what I am explaining you, you might have got a doubt why you haven't created the new instance of text for this key class. Appreciate your students if you got this doubt. In this case, we already created an instance for this key variable in the map function. That is why we are writing it directly now without having to create the instance, because the key hasn't changed. Did you observe that? The key hasn't changed, only the value has changed. From the list of values, it has picked the maximum air temperature. That is why the key instance is not recreated. It is used as it is. So the key is taken and the max value is taken. Both are written, means they are packed into the context object. Right, done. What is the time, students?
(9:24), ma'am.
9:24. Yeah. Okay, now let us quickly see this MapReduce class, final class, to pack it into a job. And once again, I'll explain this in the next class in detail. Okay, now you have to pack this map function and reduce function into a job, because this map and reduce functions can't separately be handed over to the HDFS client. HDFS cluster. So you have to pack it together as a single job, and this job have to be converted into a jar file, and then this jar file have to be deployed onto the data nodes on HDFS cluster. Very, very important task. Okay, for this you need to read the data. In order to perform this MapReduce task, you need to read the data from an input file, convert it into key value pairs, hand it over to map phase, which again converts it into key value pairs and gives the output to reducer phase, which gives the final output. And that output again will be written to another file. In this process, you're reading the data from a file and writing the output to a file. So you need an input file and you need an output file. For that, you have to work with file system paths. So you have to import this. Import org.apache.hadoop.fs.path. You're going to work with paths. And you also have to work with int writable, integer wrapper class, text for string class, and you have to import the job package also, because you're now going to pack your job, which contains map and reduce functions, which can be transported onto data nodes. Remember, data is not being transferred on HDFS cluster to and fro. To save the bandwidths, only the computation task is being transferred to the data nodes where the data resides. Got it? So this transfer of map function and reduce function happens through this job. Okay, so you have to import the job package and you have to import MapReduce's library dot input dot file input format and file output format. These formats should be understood by the MapReduce framework also. So you have to import this file input format and file output format from the MapReduce package, which can be understood by the MapReduce task. And finally, we write a max temperature class, which will pack your map function and reduce function into a job. That we will see in detail in the next class. There's no meaning in hurrying through this program, because you have to understand this very, very carefully to know how these functions actually go on to HDFS cluster. Okay, so we'll see this in detail in next class. How did you understand today's concept, students? Chaitra?
Yes, ma'am.
Murli?
Good, ma'am.
Ashok?
Good, ma'am. I understand, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay then. We'll meet in the next class. Stay back. I'll take attendance.